Delight Your Marriage, Episode 3.
Welcome to the Delight Your Marriage podcast, the show where you hear from amazing and inspiring wives sharing their struggles, triumphs, and advice for this journey called marriage. Here's your host, Belah Rose.
Hey there and welcome. I'm Belah and I'm so glad you're here. And I hope you're having a really good day today. It's been kind of nice here. Well, it hasn't been nice. I'm in New York City and it's been very cold. I think I looked at the weather this morning when I got outside and it was 10 degrees. So yes, freezing, but sunny, which is kind of nice. So I ended up getting to the gym this morning and it was a good day so far. But anyway, I'm really glad you're joining us, and I think you're going to really love the second half of Jay Parker's interview from Hot, Holy, and Humorous. If you haven't listened to the first one, it's at episode 2, and this is the second half. And like I said, she really goes into the big 3 things that she finds her readers really are struggling with, and she gives some pretty phenomenal advice. So definitely listen in, and here she is.
I think we've got to take hold of this and do everything that we can. And I think some people will be surprised by the response they might get back when they start doing what they can do to be a success in their marriage.
Yes, I love that. It's a pretty good segue into my next question. A tip about intimacy that you wish someone either let you in on earlier. And then I'd say an addendum to this question is, what do you see as your readers? What are some things that they really either have struggled with and you would love to give them insight on?
Great. We're finally to my favorite subject, sex.
Yay! Love it.
I get to talk about this all the time. Yay. I guess when it comes to intimacy, and of course intimacy is larger than sex, I know that, but I specifically talk about sexual intimacy on my blog. And so what I wish that I had known earlier on is that it was okay to take some risks and look a little silly. And I know that sounds strange, but I wish I'd been more willing. In some ways, I think when I entered my marriage, I was more free than other wives I know. But I was still so self-conscious. I mean, I didn't want my husband to see me in the full light of our bedroom. I didn't really speak up or even gesture what I wanted, what would arouse me, what would make me feel good. I was worried about looking odd or sounding weird or just, how I came across. I was so worried about that. But, as it turns out, hubbies seem really pretty into all of that. They are quite okay with you coming in and saying, hey, I like it when you do blah, blah, blah. Most hubbies are the guy you married is in love with you. He wants you to enjoy yourself, and he wants you to show that you're enjoying yourself. In fact, that turns him on. It gives him an extra boost of pleasure. So I think that if I had just relaxed and put myself more into it from the get-go, that would have been great. Now, I have since learned that, and I really feel like I can just be very free and very engaged and fully in that moment. And now our sexual encounters they're just more exciting. They're more fulfilling. They're more fun.
And can I ask, Jay, is the reason that you feel more secure in these intimate encounters, is it because you have the perfect body now and you just look like a supermodel in your bedroom and that's why you don't mind light? Is that how it works?
I do not have the body I had 20 years ago. I wish I had the body I had 20 years ago. But you know what? My husband doesn't have his body either, so we started growing old together.
Yep.
In fact, it's kind of funny because I've thought about this, how I actually I don't look as good as I used to, and yet I'm more confident about the body that I have now. Because I feel like a sexy woman. because I've experienced the pleasure. I've experienced that I can give him pleasure. We've been so intimate. I mean, I do try to take care of my body, but it's going to change. You're going to change in the course of your marriage. And it's not about the great bodies. In fact, some of the people who have fabulous sex lives, I mean, I can think of one lady I know who's whispered some things to me, and I know that they have a really good sex life. And you would not look at them and think, Calvin Klein models. You just wouldn't. Mm-hmm. But I know that they are intimate. They adore each other. They're having a great time. Good for them. So you don't wait for the supermodel body. So, you need to enjoy. And the thing is, too, you're attracted to each other. And you married each other. You love each other. And I think we need to realize that it's more than just this physical attraction. The world wants to say that that's what it's about, but Christian sex and marriage runs deeper than that. It's about making love to the whole person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm so grateful that you didn't share with us that suddenly you you became a supermodel, and that's why all the confidence came, because I just think that it's so easy for us as women to compare ourselves to whomever and say, oh, once I lose those 20 pounds, then I'll feel confident, then I'll approach my husband, or then I'll instigate more and it's just, or initiate more, and it's false. The truth is that you have to believe in your heart that God made you fearfully and wonderfully and beautiful to your husband's eye, and that you are enough, and you can approach him, and you can and just like Jay said, I just so agree with every part of that, is that you really can it turns him on for you to be more engaged, more present, more confident, more willing to do so much in the bedroom. So it's so I just really appreciate that.
Oh, interesting enough, those are the two things I probably hear from husbands the most, is that they want more frequent sex. That's true. But, almost even more than that, I hear men who say, I want my wife to be really into it. That even if they had sex all the time, but it was begrudgingly, it would not be enjoyable or fulfilling to the husband. He wants his wife to be totally there with him.
Yes. And I think that sometimes we as wives, we think that once, all of a sudden in the bedroom, once we're about to have sex or in that zone, our husbands turn into someone completely different. No, he's still that sensitive person that has feelings, that has emotions, that notices when you're making a sickening face, or when you're grossed out, or when he didn't turn into another person. He's still your husband. He still sees and hears and senses all of your emotions. And when you can give yourself fully to him in the experience, it's a boost to his ego and his confidence and his heart in ways that we probably as women won't ever understand. We might understand parts of it, but in terms of the male psyche and how they receive love through sex, it's just it's just so much greater than a lot of times we can even understand.
Yeah, I agree.
When you hear from women, do you find that these are some of the larger issues that they're dealing with? Or if you were to try to sum, one of the biggest issues that you hear in marriage that you just wish you could kind of insert into each wife's mind?
Wow. Okay, well, there's probably a few things that just keep coming up. One really is the body issue, is believing in ourselves, believing in our beauty, and not being so hard on ourselves. Now, I do sometimes hear from wives who have let themselves go, and I'm not encouraging that, because I do think that we need to. This is part of being that better person I talked about earlier, and bringing your best self into your marriage. You should take care of yourself, but this is also a realistic thing, where I'm a short person and I always wanted to be tall. I'm not suddenly tomorrow going to be tall, so. So we need to be realistic. You are not suddenly going to be an hourglass figure if you are not if that's not what you got, if that's the straw you drew. But you know what? You're a beautiful person. And I think we need to start believing that and looking at our strengths, stop looking at our weaknesses, and believe that our husbands were attracted to us and married us and wanted us, and we are desirable, and that we are worth it, that we deserve to have good sexual intimacy and to feel good about ourselves. And in fact, I've actually kind of offered a challenge this year, is to learn to feel beautiful this year, to learn to take compliments, to learn to feel good about yourself, to start talking more positively to yourself about who you are and what you look like. And I just think that kind of flips things around, where we sometimes believe, well, I have to feel good about myself and then I can have, whatever. And we've got it wrong. We can't wait for that. We need to start feeling good about ourselves now and start behaving like that. And then the good things will come toward us. So I just think we need to do that. And I think a practical step on that is, wives, put a little bit of light in your room. If you are used to only making love in the dark, I would just challenge those wives to light a candle, put a lamp on, put some, just a little bit of light at first. But get to where you can let your husband see your body. Yeah. Because he wants to see your body. And your body's beautiful. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that I would really want wives to do, is just to feel good about themselves. Another thing that I find is women have, we've compartmentalized sex a lot. And that takes all kinds of different, that covers a lot of different things. It's those people who compartmentalize sex as being something that's outside of themselves, like, well, there's my whole relationship with my husband, and then there's the sex he wants. And that's like over and tucked away in this little box. Mm. Sometimes we compartmentalize sex as being something kind of outside what God wants for us. It's like this fleshly kind of dirty thing over there that we don't talk about. Sometimes it's the thing that we've compartmentalized down to, I've got to get everything else done in my day, and when I've got all of this taken care of, well, then I can go open that little box. Mm. And we just compartmentalize it to be just a side thing instead of bringing the sexuality into our whole lives and realizing that is a part of what God made us to be. We are sexual beings. And if you're married, God intends sex to be part of that. And so we need to start embracing that, embracing right views, beliefs about that, and letting it be part of our whole being. Well, just the other thing I was going to say is the other thing I meet with is a lot of women who just don't know what to do. Yeah. And that's been my most popular posts are probably my how-to posts on, how to orgasm. Mm-hmm. You don't, if no one's told you and you're not having one, how do you know how to get there? So it's nice if someone would tell you. And I think sometimes we lack information in the bedroom of, what to do, what will work, how to approach this. And so I give some very practical advice on hotholyhumorous.com with that focus.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I kind of want to circle back to the first part that you mentioned about feeling good about yourself. And, when the disciples asked Jesus what the most important commandments were, the first one was to love the Lord your God with your whole heart, whole soul, all your mind and strength. And the second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself. And I want to focus in on the second part of that, which love your neighbor as yourself. We can't really love someone else if we're not loving ourselves. I think in marriage, it's very prevalent when we are hard on ourselves, when we're criticizing ourselves and we're, speaking poisonous words over ourselves. How is that not going to, flood over into our relationship with our husband? And so part of loving your husband is also recognizing the goodness that God has put in you and the gift that you are, that God has designed you to be. And so loving yourself is also a part of loving your husband. And so I think that's very, very key. And I was also just going to mention about the second part, the compartmentalized sex. I just completely agree with that. And I always find it funny that one of the first commandments, the first commandment that God gave Adam and Eve was to be fruitful and multiply. And I think about that. I think about the process of having a child. And, it's not like if you need vitamin C, you eat an orange and then all of a sudden you've got vitamin C in your body and voila, you've got what you needed. It's not like that with making a baby. It is a process. You've got to worry about the time of the month. You've got to worry about the temperature of the woman. I mean, there's so many, her mood, how things are going. There's just so much to it. And yet, even if everything is perfect, you might not get pregnant the first time you have sex in order to get pregnant. So it's hysterical to me that sex is such a integral piece of God's plan for the world, And and like you said, we think it's something that God doesn't even realize is happening. And he in fact is not part of the bedroom experience at all and really shouldn't be. And, I think that's sin coming into the world. And I think that's a lot of what we've seen of sex prior to it being in the right context. For example, maybe our first exposure to sex was with pornography or in, R-rated movies. And yes, that is out of the right context. Yes, that is sin. But when it's in the right context, when it's in your marriage, that is the right context. And that is exactly where you should be indulging in all the, wonderful aspects of this beautiful experience. And so then lastly, I love that you end on the information piece, that it's very important for us as wives. I mean, so frequently, I don't know about you, Jay, but I grew up in a family that really never talked about it. And I didn't learn about I didn't learn that a penis was anything more than a urine dispenser until I was about in middle school. And this popular boy that was assigned to sit next to me decided he should humiliate me in front of a good amount of people. So it was not a fun experience. I was very mad at my mom. But
did anyone have a good junior high experience anywhere?
I don't think it's possible, really.
That's where everyone's stories. Well, my worst story was from junior high. Anyway, sorry.
It's true. Well, that's when the hormones are happening. That's when we all get...
So we don't know what to do with ourselves.
Very true. Okay. So I'd love to move on to the last section. That's really thoughtful takeaways. So is there a book or a resource that you would specifically recommend that, wives can learn about some of these really important pieces?
Yeah, of course. I recommend my own books.
Please do.
Thank you. For all those kind of how-to things and a lot of that good information, and it's everything from how to write a love letter to how to orgasm, and it just kind of goes through all kinds of things. That book is Sex Savvy, a lovemaking guide for Christian wives, and it's available ebook or print. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, I think it's still on Smashwords. But then I just recently came out with something kind of different. It's Intimacy Revealed, 52 Devotions to Enhance Sex and Marriage. And it's got a weekly devotional, and these are short. You can probably do them in 5 to 10 minutes. I say it's a weekly devotional because there are 52 of them, but I suppose you could do it daily and shorten the time that you want to do it in. But they're a biblical passage, and some are related directly to sex, and some are more principles that can still be applied to the marital bedroom. And so there's the passage, and there's kind of some thoughts on that, some questions, and a prayer. And I just think that's a really good way to get our minds set in the right way about what God designed sex to be in marriage. And once again, that's Intimacy Revealed. And it's also available ebook and print, Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Other books I really recommend is I really like Dr. Lehman's book. Dr. Kevin Lehman wrote Sheet Music. And then there's another book by Jeffrey Murphy and Julie Seibert called The Pursuit of Passion. Those are both very good for couples to read through on sexual intimacy. And specifically for wives, I just love Sheila Gregoire's book, The Good Girl's Guide to Great Sex. And that really also deals with many of us wives who maybe entered marriage with poor messages about sex and how to kind of turn that around. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted some general marriage books, I think I mentioned The 5 Love Languages That Made a Difference for Us. And the other one, which is not a Christian book, but I still recommend it because it's built on lots of great research, is The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work by John Gottman. He has a Gottman Marriage Institute, and he's just done a lot of study in this area and come up with kind of the things that can help make your marriage work, and also the things that if they're present will make your marriage very difficult, like contempt. So you get a big overview and a research-based view on that.
That's great. And I'll have each of these resources linked up in the show notes at delightyourmarriage.com. So we'll have all of the links to Jay's books and then also to these other ones that she recommends. So definitely check those out. So as a last kind of parting piece of advice, if you could go back to year 1 in your marriage and sit yourself down, what would be one piece of advice you would give you? I
think that I would tell myself to stop worrying so much about unreasonable expectations, about small things, about getting it perfect. I would tell myself to study more in the Word and find out what it looks like, not just to be a good wife, but to be a good person. And bring that person into the marriage. I just think that I would have tried to focus more on, it's okay to work on you, because when you work on you, that is working on your marriage. And I think that if I had just given myself that advice to be a better, to live out daily as a holy, happy person, I just think that would have, it would have skirted a lot of issues. It would have saved a lot of heartache, and just would have started enjoying the kind of great marriage I have now earlier.
Yeah, that's just so good. And Jay, your advice and your stories have just been priceless. I know that there's so many wives that are going to be really encouraged by this episode, so I really appreciate everything.
I would also say to myself, just a word of note, young wife, when you're stressed, orgasms are a great stress reliever.
That's wonderful. Well, that's just a taste of what you'll find at Hot, Holy, and Humorous. So please go there and check it out. And can you share with us just a little bit how we can connect with you? And then we'll say goodbye.
Yes. Okay. So basically, if you just remember that the name of the site is Hot, Holy, and Humorous, but all of the things are Hot, Holy, Humorous. So the website is hotholyhumorous.com. I can be found on Facebook under Hot, Holy, Humorous. I'm on Twitter as Hot, Holy, Humorous, and also on Pinterest as Hot, Holy, Humorous. So I'm each of those places. And I would love for people to hunt me down, follow me, read up, see if there's something there that can help their marriage. And also, you're welcome to go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble and check out my books there.
Awesome. Please do. Jay, this has just been an amazing interview. So thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate everything you've given.
It's been delightful.
Oh, thank you, Jay. And thank you so much for sharing so much insight and wisdom with all of us. And I also appreciate you because Jay was actually spent some time with me after our call to chat about this project and how I also am anonymous as she is. But some kind of cool news is that Jay has just opened the windows and she's got some pictures on her website now, so you can really see who she is. So check her out there. Also, her book, I got a chance to read it, and it's just helpful, and it's fun and light, and she has got some really good bite-sized instructions. Each chapter is pretty short, so it's easy to get through, and that's called Sex Savvy, so check that one out. The last thing I want to ask you about is if you have enjoyed Delight Your Marriage so far, I would love for you to leave us a review on iTunes. That actually helps us to have more views on the podcast. So if someone types in marriage, for example, if we have more reviews on iTunes, more people will find the podcast. So I'd love for you to do that when you get a chance. And if you're not sure how to, go to delightyourmarriage.com/iTunes, and we have a pretty easy step-by-step instructions on that. Really appreciate you for listening, and I appreciate you taking your time out. I think you're going to love the next episode, and I hope to see you there. God bless you and your marriage. Bye.
Thanks for joining. If you've been inspired by this show, would you help spread the word? If you take a moment to review and subscribe, others can find us more easily. Find out how at delightyourmarriage.com/iTunes. Until next time, live with love, wisdom, and passion.